A Grand Traverse County commissioner is under the microscope tonight after bringing out a rifle during a virtual county commission meeting.
Traverse City has people, hundreds of people rather, signing a letter for resignation after a gun incident during a county meeting over a webcam. All I gotta say to this is, what a bunch of oversensitive, pansy-ass sissies. Shelter City is one of the little surnames that are given, or nicknames rather, that is given to Traverse City because everyone's so fucking sheltered in this northern Michigan area that they're sheltered from the real world, from real world problems and real world hardships. Not to say that there are some that do have real hardships and such, but the majority really are overprivileged and wouldn't know a real actual problem and hardship if it smacked them in the face. Nonetheless, when it comes to Traverse City, Shelter City is an understatement. Even the lawyers are a bunch of oversensitive pussy who are virtue signaling their asses off. Further, cancel culture type bullshit. As well, due to the extreme sense of entitlement these locals have. Not knowing true to heart problems or dealing with real hardship gives them this ultra sense of entitlement that if someone does something, no matter how small, they don't like them to do or don't like them to say or whatever the case, that if they don't like it, to have them to resign, to cancel them, to have them fired, to have them removed from their position, etc., etc. It doesn't help that a lot of these people are anti-gun folks, aka liberal Democrat as it's generally stated or put together in a stereotype, whatever. So it doesn't surprise me that the fucking mayor, Jim Cuthers, signed it. There is no violation of people's First Amendment rights by flashing a gun on a webcam. Leave it to Traverse City people to think that it's somehow violating their First Amendment rights. Furthermore, if you look at the guy in the background with the obvious deer heads in the background, it's obvious he's a hunter and he uses guns to hunt. I swear, this city called Traverse City, and a lot of the northern Michigan areas surrounding it, have more pussy wimp bitches than any other city out there. And, go figure, the one that is making the biggest deal out of this is a goddamn Karen.
Up North Live's Brittany Beauty spoke to those on the call about what happened. She joins us now live from our newsroom. Brittany, who'd you talk to?
Mark, I spoke to the commission chairman, Rob Hentschel, as well as Kelly McIntosh, who was giving public comment when Commissioner Ron Clous pulled out his hunting rifle. Mr. Clous did not return my calls or email. Tonight, people are calling for him to step down or be removed from his position.
I'm asking for a statement, and his response was shoving an assault rifle in my face.
Really? Really? In your face? Really? Is that how you're gonna word this, Karen? Or Kelly? Really? Is this how we're gonna go about it? Playing the victim? Really? I guess this is the way we're gonna go. Good old Traverse City.
Kelly McIntosh spoke up during virtual public comment Wednesday morning.
You can say that we don't have problem Proud Boys around our area, but there are obviously problem Proud Boys around the country.
Back in March, commissioners passed a Second Amendment resolution. Members of the Proud Boys were at that meeting. After recent events in our country, McIntosh asked commissioners to make a statement against so-called Proud Boy behavior.
Welcoming such a group and having that message go out has changed the environment in northern Michigan from a hunting culture to that of a gun culture.
Yeah. Definite Karen, obviously. And no surprise, a Traverse City resident. And of course, wouldn't you know it, definitely long term, she's anti-gun, just by what you just heard there from her. Look, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a liberal, I'm just an independent free thinker. I'm a person of my own self. I don't subscribe to one or the other. I actually mix all of them in. They have the pros and their cons. I go for the pros and say no to their cons, right? So this means I'm an atheist, but I also like guns. See, usually you can't be both because Republicans are gun and Democrats or liberals are generally atheists. See where I'm going here? Alright, so I am for guns. I like guns. I love to shoot guns. But do I see this, what he did, as some sort of gun culture thing? And even if there is a gun culture, there's nothing wrong with a gun culture. It's your fucking Second Amendment right. Get the fuck over it, Karen. Seriously. Furthermore, it hasn't changed the environment. Such a fallacious strawman argument that I cannot believe that someone would be so ignorant and stupid enough to actually say something like that. It's still just as much of a hunting culture, environment, society as it ever was. No amount of gun culture, as she likes to call it, is that some sort of way of making it seem worse than what it really is, will change Northern Michigan's hunting culture. We are hunters, we like to hunt venison for days.
Months later, that Vice Chair Commissioner Ron Clous stood up and returned with a rifle. Chairman Rob Hentschel chuckling when he saw it.
She said, I can certainly understand why some people would want to have their gun rights protected. And I looked up, and Commissioner Clous at that point picked up his Sig Sauer rifle and just held it for briefly and then set it down. So I assumed he was agreeing with her, and it made me chuckle that, okay, that's a bold statement to agree, but okay.
McIntosh says she felt threatened.
Our county commissioners think it's all right to brandish their firearms.
What do you think should happen?
I think they should have their powers taken away from them.
Hentschel says Clous didn't break any rules and he didn't threaten anyone.
He said he would.
Alright, obviously Rob's playing politics right now and he has to say whatever he can say to get out of the whole chuckling incident, because we all know that he was, smirking, chuckling along just like the rest of us would that aren't oversensitive pussy-ass pansies. And it's just like, he brought his gun out, no big deal, whatever, almost humorously entertaining, as it were, given the topic and circumstance or whatever. So, yeah, he's playing politics, I get it, whatever. You gotta secure your spot and get yourself out of heat. So say what you gotta say, I get it, it's cool.
McIntosh says she felt threatened.
Of course Kelly the Karen would fucking feel threatened. Fucking Traverse City, fucking oversensitive fucking pansies and their extremist anti-gun bullshit. It was on a fucking webcam. If you feel threatened by something you're seeing on a screen that in no way can really affect you, get off the internet. Dear God, get off the internet before you have yourself a fucking heart attack. I'm saying this out of concern for you, Kelly. I'm saying it out of concern. The internet is a scary, scary place, and the more you're on it, the more that you see people on it, and what people put on the internet, the worse it gets, the scarier it gets. The more knowledge you get, the scarier it gets. Much less what you see, the content thereof on the internet, man. Scary shit, and you're not ready for it. If you think some flicking of the gun, 5 seconds of seeing a gun on a webcam. Personal note, get off the internet for your own well-being, for your own psychological state. I'm not saying this to be mean. I am genuinely, if you're this threatened by that little demonstration of showing a gun for 5 whatever seconds, just get off the internet in general. Seriously, I'm not kidding you. Get off the internet. Don't get on Facebook. Don't watch anything on the internet. Don't be on the internet in any way, unless it's like some sort of safe space or something. I don't know. Either way, protect your own mental health and your emotional well-being. Don't be on the internet, for Christ's sakes. That said, back to the hazing and my general ways of being. If you feel threatened because of that, then there's something wrong with you. And or you're just playing the victim to have your anti-gun agenda out and about in the public for everyone to see. Because that is the most irrational ignorant kind of response that I would expect out of a Traverse City, Michigan resident, especially a Karen, which is becoming more and more prevalent in today's society. Fucking Traverse City, man. Fucking Traverse City.
Our county commissioners think it's all right to brandish their firearms.
Duh. It's called the Second Amendment. Of course they can brandish their fucking weapons if they want to. Maybe it wasn't the most appropriate time to do so, but they have every goddamned right to do so. Every goddamned right. There are the obvious situations of the right time and the right place, but what it comes down to really is being pedantic, obsessed with the small little details. Sure, it was an inappropriate time to do it, but this is that virtue signaling type of politically correct virtue signaling horseshit that is becoming way too sensationalized and popular in today's society. And of course, because it involves this fucking Karen, it's got to be her way or the highway, because she's the all-knowing. If it's not her way, then it's the wrong way type of personality in person. So of course, she's gonna think that, you know, if it doesn't go with what she's thinking or how she thinks in her ideology or otherwise, well then they just don't have the right to do that. Fucking Traverse City and their entitlement. Fucking hate these people. Oh my god.
What do you think should happen?
I think they should have their powers taken away from them.
Are we really surprised, though, that she would say that they would want their powers taken away from them? Cancel culture, Karenism, entitlement, extremist ideology, Traverse City people. Basically all the same thing at this point. What a fucking dunce. Fucking thick. Really? Have him removed from his position because of a showing of a firearm on a webcam, which could possibly be inappropriate timing to do so, even if the topic involved guns, really. Could you think of anything more pathetic to try to have him removed from his position? Really? Oversensitive fucking pansies. Jesus fucking Christ, Traverse City.
Jill says Clous didn't break any rules and he didn't threaten anyone.
Furthermore, I want to, be on that with Roy as well. He didn't threaten anyone. He didn't break any rules, and that's what it really come down to. Sure, it could be inappropriate, but at least right now, as it stands, there was no rules that said that he couldn't. And that being said, if he didn't break any rules in the first place, then fuck y'all. Fuck every single one of you. Fucking Karens and oversensitive fucking pansies, pussy wimp bitch cowards that are scared by a gun on a fucking webcam. Jesus Christ, you're mixing or somehow skewing the internet in reality and trying to make them as one. As if somehow the scary man on the internet is gonna come get you through the screen. He didn't break rules. He didn't threaten anyone. He didn't do anything wrong. End of story. End of fucking story. Get over it, pussies.
He said he was going to make a statement about Second Amendment rights, and that's why he'd picked it up. And he decided we had 2 hours of public comment. He decided not to say anything at all.
Wouldn't you know it? He was gonna actually make a statement about Second, Amendment rights, gun rights. And so he actually had that more or less as a prop, as a demonstration visual prop to help, visually demonstrate what he was going to go on about. But given the time frame and given everything, that he decided, fuck it. And that's why he more or less flashed the weapon more than actually held the weapon for a long duration of time or otherwise. Again, completely appropriate given the topic that he was going to go on about. And yet again, didn't break any rules, he didn't threaten anyone, and it was good intentions. Further showing how retarded, oversensitive, sissy-like, pansy-like, and so on and so forth, that these pussy-ass Northern Michigan fuckwits are.
If you know Mr. Clous, he's a very nice man, and there's really nothing threatening about Ron Clous.
She just wanted a statement that said that the commission does not condone the Proud Boys and they aren't welcome here. Can you make that kind of statement?
No, I can't speak for the commission. I can only speak for myself. Well, I will say I have met 3 Proud Boys in person. One of them was black, so they're not white supremacists. I really don't know what they're about. I'm not a member, so I'm not going to go around, denouncing every spaghetti monster that someone comes up with. Now, if they are racist in any way, then absolutely, I denounce racist behavior.
A local attorney I talked to tonight says he and dozens of citizens have already crafted a letter calling on Clous to be removed from his position. Reporting live in the newsroom, Brittany Beauty, Up North Live News.
1. Brittany, you're hot. Anyways, that out of the way. That local attorney is a pansy ass, a pussy, a wimp, oversensitive, etc. Just as everyone else who signed it. To have that sort of visceral reaction over a momentary showing of a gun on a webcam is just beyond words in which anyone can really, describe or state or think of. That speaks volumes of the Traverse City people that signed it and are with this. In regard to the Proud Boys situation, I can't speak on behalf of everyone either, but if it is truly this whole racist this and that, then obviously they're bad people in that way, but just because they have firearms involved in that doesn't mean that all firearms are bad either. You can't just group that all together. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Just fallacies and bullshit arguments like that. I just can't take these Traverse City people seriously. The ones that are trying the hardest to not be fascist or racist or whatever are more times than none the most racist, the most fascist, the more cancel, whatever you want to call it. It's the ironic truth of it all, really. Those who are always yelling out, racist, racist, racism, are usually the most racist of them all. Likewise with a lot of these things, a lot of these people are terrible people for just trying to virtue signal to make themselves look good or something or the other, but nonetheless, the people who are bad, and the people who improperly use weapons are bad people and improperly use weapons. But there are a lot of people who are good people who properly know how to use weapons and do so properly. So it's one or the other. It's not just this or just that. Compromise in the middle. There are bad and then there are good. Get over it. The anti-gun agenda is pretty clear here. You see where this is going. They're trying to use the Proud Boys as a way to try to get more anti-gun agenda bullshit and out there, and it's definitely more than just the Proud Boys that they're wanting to aim for here, and making it pretty obvious at this point. I mean, all you gotta do apparently is show a firearm on webcam, and then a big fucking deal like it's the end of the goddamn world happens. So if it wasn't for him, okay, for example, if he didn't show that gun, then they wouldn't have any sort of thing to go after in regard to targeting guns, and it just would have been another boring session. But again, the smallest little deviation from normalcy, boringness, and well, that's what they gotta hyper focus on. It's one of those things where it's absolutely predictable what Traverse City people are gonna do. And this is just a great example of it, a good demonstration of it actually. especially when there are agendas on the line here that they're trying to push and so on and so forth. It's definitely expected that behavior out of the Traverse City people, especially the most extremist ideology of them all. The more anti-gun they are, the more likely they are gonna have such a visceral reaction, and the more of a spineless, coward, gutless, pussy, wimp bitch that they are, the more they're gonna be feeling threatened and scared by something that they're seeing on their screen that isn't in person, face to face with them, or physically anywhere near them. You know, it's just one of those things where it's just another typical Traverse City fucking event that was created from nothing, really. They made and created their own monster and trying to go after it now. So, until next time.